Welcome everybody. We are going to be talking about vintage today, and I'm super excited because vintage is one of my favorite things to buy and resell. Vintage of all kinds, clothing, hard goods, jewelry, all sorts of stuff. And so I decided to focus on some of my vintage finds that I was able to acquire this week at thrift stores, yard sales, and pretty much thrift stores and yard sales this week. And I had a couple I can't believe I found this moments this week, and I'm going to tell you about that today. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to get right into it. Earlier in the week, I had gone to a thrift store. I wasn't really feeling it, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to go because on that particular day, clothing is like anything $9 and under is $1. And it's a good time to even shop for my family and for myself. So I go to this thrift store and I'm poking around, and clothing is really picked over. The rest of the clothing, anything like $10 and higher, is half off, but I still just wasn't seeing anything that I was interested in. Now I went over to the hard goods part, the kitchen area. I didn't have high hopes because nothing was on sale in particular that day for the hard goods, and this store tends to price things kind of high because they know they're running sales quite a bit throughout the week. So I did come across these little cups. I've got 2 of them. I ended up with 14 of them. So the story is, a few days earlier, I had seen one of these, but it was a creamer. It was an individual creamer, and it's restaurant wear. And I love restaurant wear. It's like heavy duty, it's solid, it's just nice china. Right? And so what's even more interesting, and the type of restaurant wear that actually sells the best, is associated or advertising for airlines, for restaurants, for diners, for places like that. And they'll have something called a top mark on it where it'll say the hotel, or it'll say the restaurant, the diner, whatever. And those are so collectible. Now these are just plain. I noticed the bottom says Inca Ware, and Inca Ware was made by Shenango, China, out of Pennsylvania. This particular mark could be anywhere from the 20s to the 50s. As you can see, it just says Inca Ware, made in the USA and everything. And so it's got a very earth tone style to it, very Western. And so I had seen the individual creamer, and they wanted $2 for it, again on a day that there were no sale or discounts or anything. And I looked it up, and without a top mark, it just wasn't doing it for me as far as what my profit could be on that. So I left it. So then I am there that day that I mentioned, and I look over, and there's a bin of this china, and there's a bunch of creamers. There's I don't know, there was 10 creamers or something like that, but there was cups and saucers, and then there were these. And now these are they go by they're big for an egg cup, but they'll call them an egg custard cup or a custard cup. And there was about 14 of them. So I just went ahead and bought them all. What was nice is that all the creamers and the cups and saucers in that bin were marked $2 a piece, but these were not marked. And so then they had just a regular pricing on it, which was 50 cents. So I paid 50 cents per egg cup. I'm gonna sell them in pairs, I believe. And I'm going to ask probably about $30, I think, for the set, for 2, okay? So I'm gonna pop those on Ruby Lane. We're gonna see how they do. I might even pop a couple on eBay, just kind of see where they're selling the best. My guess would be eBay. They would go faster just because of the bigger audience, but we'll see. Okay, so one of the other things I found in that same store, not that day, but a couple days later, and we had popped in to check the kitchenware. I was with Mr. Pishposh. We had gone to the post office, and I did pop in. I wanted to pop into that store because they were doing half off kitchen on that particular day. And there was a few things I had seen on that trip a couple days earlier that I was willing to buy if they were half off. So we're poking around, we go to the store. It turns out the whole store is half off for whatever reason. I think because of the holiday the week before, they had missed out on their half off day, but that's not important. So they had decided to do half off, or maybe they just have so much inventory because their prices are so high. Anyway, I came across this little pan, and it's really, the mark is like super faded and gone, but it's Dansk. Dansk makes these little enameled covered metal pans, and you can tell by the handle. The handle is, this is part of their Coben style line, and it's not a very big pan. I've sold a couple of these. I had a blue one and a yellow one. We listed them a while back. They were kind of in my cabinet for a long time, and I never ended up using them. And so they're probably, I ended up paying $4 for this. The condition is really, really nice. Just a few little chippies around the edges. And I'm gonna shoot for $30 on that one. I think I can get that. So it's like a cast iron, enamel covered cast iron. So that was exciting to find. Okay, so I'm gonna give you one of my good ones, right? Like right away here in the video, but there's another good one towards the end of the video. So you're gonna have to watch the whole thing. So that same day I'm with Mr. Pish Posh. We dropping off our stuff at the post office, and we said, let's go over to our clearance store, to our bins. We pull up, and there's not a lot of parking in this, where the bins are. And as we drove up, I'm like, oh, there's no parking. I don't even know. If there's no parking, there's way too many people in there. It's hot, everything. And then as we got closer, we realized there actually was parking in the parking lot, but a lot of people were still parked out on the street. But we had a spot in the parking lot, so we pull in. I come in, and no joke, it was like Mr. Pish Posh went left to go to the hats, and I went the other way because he was covering the hats. I went the other way to go to the kitchen, and it was like, ah, like a light was coming down onto the kitchen shelves, and you mid-century people will understand what I felt. I'm gonna put a picture of my cart right here of what I found. Now, this is Franciscan Starburst dinnerware. When I say, okay, and you saw in my picture in the cart, like there's a stack. So there's dinner plates, there's salad plates, and there's bowls. And I was just like, how is no one else in this store grabbing these dishes, right? So I fortunately had a cart already, and I just went over there, and I just like, whoa, swooped in and grabbed everything. And now I'm like, I gotta go find something else, like a jacket, even if I don't care if I buy it or not. I'm gonna, like, I need to cover over my cart because I'm like so afraid somebody's gonna steal it. But my Montana people don't care as much. I mean, there's people who do. But oh my goodness, like how long were they sitting there? Okay, so here's the deal. There are, I don't know if you're gonna be able, you probably can't tell the difference, but here's one of the salad plates. Here's the salad plate. Oh yeah, you can see that. So see all the utensil marks on the salad plate? This one looked like that to begin with, and you can still kind of see it faintly, but this is what I used. Barkeeper's Friend. I'm gonna put a link down below to Amazon. You know what, I know you can buy it in other places, but if you're an Amazon shopper and you just wanna add something to your cart, if you use my link, it helps support my channel a little bit. I'll get a couple cents or something if you buy the Barkeeper's Friend through my link. Okay, anyway, so I still have to, I wanted to show the before and after. So it came out pretty good, right? So the salad plates, the dinner plates, if you look close, they've got the utensil marks too. There's a couple that have chips. I do know that. So I haven't like gone through like exactly every single one, what I'm gonna do. The bowls are okay. They don't even have utensil marks, like they're good to go. So I am gonna be putting these into Ruby Lane. I'll probably do them into smaller groups, like 2 dinner plates, maybe 2 bowls, or maybe the 4 bowls together, I'm not sure. But I might break them up a little bit because they can sell for quite a bit of money, and a lot of times people need to buy smaller amounts because they have to save up in order to add to their set. So let's take a look real quick. Just real quick, let's look at the computer and see some of the prices for Franciscan Starburst. I just want to say it's a very mid-century pattern. It was made by Franciscan because of all those futuristic trends that were going on in the 50s. And it was only made from 1954 to 1968. So they were really capitalizing on that atomic culture, right? That everyone was into space race and things like that. And they had a promotion called Modern Americana. So this was made to be part of that. Another one was like the Oneida community made the Twin Star flatware, and that was really made to kind of go, it complements this really well. So a lot of people who collect mid-century dinnerware have the Twin Star flatware, very iconic for mid-century collectors. So let's just look at prices real quick of what potential can be for the Franciscan Starburst dinnerware. Okay, let's just start at replacements.com. You can see this, it says 1950s star design. This is where I found out like when they actually made it. And it has, like it says, the pattern includes a variety of fun, irregularly shaped piece types. So if you notice that when I held up the dinner plate, it's not completely round. They're kind of a little oblong. But anyway, here are some ideas of some of the pricing from replacements. Obviously, we're not getting the same amount of pricing, on eBay, but a little saucer they have it marked off. It was like $30. Dinner plates, they have on sale as well, but still $85. Luncheon plates, salad plates. Now the crescent salad plate, that is something to keep an eye out for. $239. Honestly, you're just going to want to pick up anything in this pattern. I've sold random stuff like a saucer by itself, and I've only really found a handful of pieces over the years. The mug, grand mug, these big mugs, $359. Again, this is through replacements, but just to give you an idea of the demand of these pieces and what the pieces look like. If we pop over to what's currently available on eBay, we have 701 results for Franciscan. One pepper shaker is listed for $35. As you can see, we've got some listings for, some people just put it all together and some break it up. Here's those big mugs, $500 for 6 of them. Now let's take a look at solds. So someone sold one mug for $139. Now I would totally take that, no problem. Let's go with highest first, and we're gonna see those crescent salad plates. $1,000 for however many are in that little grouping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like 7 for $1,000. And then you can see little groupings are going to be the next highest up. It's about $100 per plate is what they're going for on eBay. Coffee pots are kind of the next highest. So we're talking definitely one of the top, be on the lookout patterns in vintage dinnerware. So isn't that exciting? Like, I just could not believe that's what I was seeing on the shelf that day. Just like the holy grail of vintage dinnerware, like just sitting there and at the bins at the clearance center. So I put them in my cart. I go pick up a few other things. Honestly, I still was like hiding them. And then I go over to Mr. Pish Posh, and he had hats, right? He found a bunch of hats. So he had his own cart. We consolidated the cart. You could see the size of the cart in that first picture. It wasn't very big. Filled up the top of that cart, but we had dishes, we had hats. She knew we were combining a couple carts together. She charged us $10 for everything. Okay, so I thought that was, I'm like, that's my highlight. Like, how much better can this week get? Forget it. Anything else is going to be a letdown this week, right? Well, let's keep going. So I go to get to the end of the week, yard sale day. I am tired. I have been going like all week long, And we were actually, Mr. Pish Posh had brought a bunch of our stuff to a friend's yard sale. We cleaned out quite a bit in our eBay store, old stuff. We just were clearing things out. And, you know, he was busy with that. And I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to stay home. Like, I looked at the list of yard sales and I was like, nothing's like speaking to me. The only thing I was slightly interested in was the, so they were advertised as 3 sales like on the same street, but they were sales from businesses. Now they were antique stores, and I have been in one of these antique stores. I don't want to say anything really bad. You can find things to flip. You can find vintage to flip in antique stores. It takes a bit. But I just like went into one a few years back on that particular street, and it just was not my style of antiques. It was very fancy and very, very, very high prices. And the vibe I got from the people was just kind of interesting. So I'm sure that was just, it was an off day, it was a whatever, but there was nothing about it that made me like, oh, I'm gonna come back here again. So over the past couple of years, I've seen them advertise like yard sales. And so I don't know why it never like attracted me. I was just like, I don't know. How cheap could they really be selling their stuff? Like, there was always something better to go to instead. So this particular time I thought, you know what? I have to run to the grocery store. It's right around the corner. I will go check out, because, you know, the pictures, I'll put up some pictures. There's a building on that street, and I don't know if they're affiliated with the antique malls, but they filled this building and everything was priced yard sale pricing. So I'm like, what do they do the rest of the year? Like, where did the stuff come from? Did they fill this all up from their shopping that they've been doing all year just for a yard sale? Or is this stuff that didn't sell in their stores? Like, I don't know. I should have asked somebody, but because it was like a store, but garage sale pricing. So anyway, and then there was the one on the other side of the building, like the first one. And this was where, because I ended up going Friday and Saturday. I went back again the next day. But the first one, you know, they advertised it like, this is total flea market, like this is flea market, whatever. And I had totally missed the fact that the one like group, I looked at their table, 'cause it was pretty hot when I was finally there. I looked at their table, I was out in the sun, I was like, okay, I'm done, I'm gonna go over to this other one. I missed the fact that they had set up a thrift store in their school bus. Okay, so I had made a little video, maybe some of you saw that. I can have it, you know, playing right here, but they had put it was inventory in the school bus. So I shopped that the next day. But, so I'm poking around, like I found so much good stuff between the different sales, I couldn't believe it. And I thought, you know what, I almost missed out. So let me just show you real quick. One of the first places I stopped, I got this box. It's just a kid's, it's so beat up. It's all taped up and everything. I'm gonna get rid of the box. But it was advertised as having doll clothes in it. And it was only $10. Oops, I have it upside down. So as you can see, all for 10. And let me pop in the video right now. I'll spread it out. I've spread it out and I'll show you what was in it. I'll pop that in right here. Okay, so as you can see, here was the box that I purchased. Everything in there was $10. Just a little kitty suitcase or doll case or something. This is just kind of the homemade stuff, scraps that are left in there. Certain Barbie boots can actually be really profitable. These are all unmarked. They're not marked Japan or Mattel or anything like that. So I'm just gonna leave those for now. And then I'm just gonna share with you, here are some of the odds and ends of little dolls that were in there. And I'll go through right now and just kind of show you what the research I've done so far on what I can maybe make out of these pieces. A lot of it will depend on condition. Like this one, I was able to like clean up her face a little bit, so I was glad of that. But doll collectors want to know all the details, you know, especially there's like some green marks on her leg. Anyway, so I just have learned to you take pictures of the whole doll without the outfits on, and they can see front and back and all the possible condition issues that you can come up with. So let's talk about what was in the box. So like I said, I paid $10 for that box, and let me just show you. I put together one of these little outfits. I can put up a picture here of it spread out. But this little outfit is for a Francie doll. It even it's on the label, not Francine, right? Francie, Barbie related. And this one outfit will sell for $40. It does sell for $40. So I'm already in the clear. $10 into $40, I'm okay. Well, some of those dolls, you know, there's that little outfit. It's called Snappy Snoozers. Google Lens is a lifesaver. You just take a picture and it, especially with doll identification, it's great. So there's a couple little like catalog booklets that if I sell these together, it's maybe $10. So it turns out that this is a Francie doll. She's a Malibu Francie. And all the dolls in this case were like late 60s, early 70s, 69 to 70. And what does she go for? Maybe like $30 to $40. I have her swimsuit. I actually have her towel, and somewhere in here are her sunglasses. So that can be good. Let me explain something after a bit. The other doll that was in there is this Barbie. She was known as a twist and turn flip. They'll call her the Flip Barbie. Her hair needs some work, right? And they call her the Marlo Flip. And it has to do with Marlo Thomas, that TV show, That Girl. And what's so collectible about this particular type of Barbie doll is that it only came out 3 years. And each year it came out in a different bathing suit. So I was able to narrow down. Mine came out in 1970. It needs a little stitch. I might just sell it as is, kind of thing. We'll see. I'm not sure if we'll get that repaired or not. And it also had the stand that it came with. Now, that was the Barbie type stuff. There's also a Barbie outfit that could maybe be another $10 to $12. There was, I don't know, just a few little random, like this is called a Flatsy doll. It is flat completely. I mean, condition is not great. So that's what I wanted to say. Here's another one. It's a Dawn doll, which I think they were little models. If you guys know and remember, this was a few years before my time with dolls. I mean, I had Barbies and everything, but anyway, condition is really important with selling vintage dolls. So a lot of what the pricing that I came up with, like I kind of was I can't think of the word, conservative in my estimates for pricing on some of these things. And even so, even if I drop it down a little bit more, my $10 could maybe be $100. I could turn it into $100, maybe more like $150. But a lot will depend on how well the dolls clean up and such. Because some of the dolls in really good condition, that Marlo Flip doll can sell from like anywhere 80 to 100 to more. I can sell her maybe for a little bit less, because then someone could redo her and then, you know, can restore her and then move it on. So I don't mind just being like, I'm not going to restore completely, but I'm just happy I get profit in just even a few of the outfits would be great. And whatever else I can get for the dolls will be exciting, right? So that wasn't so bad in that first little stop that I made in those stores, in those yard sales. I'll share a couple other things that I found. And these aren't in any particular order. Some I got the first day and some I got the second day. I just picked up a couple of these from somebody. I dug in a bin and I got that. I have like a stack of these trivets. They used to sell a lot better, but now if you can kind of bundle them up, they do okay. Then I picked up this, just I thought was fun, even if I end up just keeping it, but it's the Redwood Forest, the California Redwoods, just a live edge little vase. I thought was really cool looking. Again, I dug into a box and I think I grabbed these and this, and she charged me $3 for the 3 things. And I was poking around at this, I looked on the side where you look, okay? So you kind of look for marks on the silver. And then I know to kind of look over here on the side. I could feel writing, even if my eyesight's not that great. But then in the sunlight, I could see that it said sterling. So I was like, you know what? She's probably not going to charge me a whole lot. I do have like a sterling one listed, but it has monograms and it hasn't sold yet. So I'm not sure what I'll do with that one. But I was like, you know what? I'll just grab it. I get home. Turns out it is marked S. Kirk and Son. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of this has to do with the maker, because comps for S. Kirk and Son brushes like this can be anywhere from $80 to $100. So I just need to polish that up a little bit and get that listed. And I was super excited. There's no dents or major issues with that. I'll get it cleaned up a little bit. I also picked up this bell pull tapestry. It wasn't marked. She ended up charging me like $5 for it. It is have a sticker that it's made in Belgium. And all I could find on eBay was just a couple, like a pillow with the same sticker. So there's not a whole lot of comps. Like I would just have to look up bell pull tapestry and just kind of go from there. But what made me pull the trigger was the fact that it did have a bell as part of the hardware. Because originally bell pulls were for calling servants, right? And in another room. So it wasn't like the bell was here. I think the cord or whatever would go all the way into where, like the kitchens or whatever. But someone, obviously, like there's a few little links here, like they put a spring. So maybe they made it so that you could pull and it would ring a bell. So we're just, I just thought that was kind of fun. So I had never found a bell pull with a bell on it. So I thought someone else might want that. Now there's bell pulls listed for $250. It's just hard to find comps on anything in particular. I also that day grabbed a bag of hardware. And the only reason I grabbed this, hardware does sell a little slower for me than it used to, but I grabbed it because it's the real old stuff. And even I paid $5 for the bag, and even if I just lot the whole thing up, we should do okay with that. And I couldn't resist this one, kind of an iconic piece of hardware on, I think, even my childhood furniture set in my bedroom, but it's by Style House, which is Montgomery Ward, right? Just a replacement pole. I paid $1. I don't know, $10, I'll be happy with that. And then a couple other randomness. I picked up this little box. It was $2. Inside is this little lipstick case with a mirror, and it's completely empty. So you would put like your own lipstick in it. But that type of thing sells pretty well on Ruby Lane. And it came in its own little box. Super cute. Now this was kind of a gamble on this one. I picked this up just because it looked old. So it's like a brass frame, this metal, it has an easel back. And at first I'm like, is that metal supposed to be the mirror? I'm like, that's just really primitive and weird, right? And I was like, you know what, it's a mystery. I'm just gonna go ahead and pick it up. So I get home and I read the back and it says Medallion Studios, Columbia Medallion Studios, Chicago. And what it turns out is this would have been a photo on here. So in the, let's see, late 1800s is when the company started, but the peak of these selling was like around World War I. but they advertised in like papers and things like that, that you could send in your photos to them. And it's basically like a big pin back, if you're familiar with that, like a button pin back. So they would take your photo and they would adhere it to this metal like button, and then they would kind of cover it with a finish, and you could cover it like with a sepia finish or whatever. And then you could pick out what frame that you wanted. Now I think I found some advertising. I can pop that picture up here. And so their thing was like, it's made to last, right? So your photos, they're paper, they're not gonna last. Why don't you like put your keepsake on here where it'll last, right? So this one obviously has no photo on it. So we kind of took it apart, and like someone had removed the photo completely. So I don't know why they did that. So I'm not even sure what I'm gonna do with this. I'll probably just list it kind of as a novelty, you know, part of the history. I found an interesting website, like a Chicago website, talking about the history of that place. By the 30s, they were totally out of business. But anyway, when you look on eBay for these, it's mostly ones with the photos still in it. The only complaint, I think the article that I read talked about, was the fact that the company didn't have any way to put like the person's name or any information about the person on it at all. So there's all these pictures out there and nobody knows who the people are, you know? Whereas a lot of times photo studios would have names, or the people could write their names on the back or things like that. So anyway, just kind of interesting. Ended up not being as exciting as I thought it would be, but I love digging into the history of vintage items. So just doing the research is sometimes fun as well. One more thing I picked up, she actually threw this when I bought a bunch of stuff. So she threw this in for free. I just found it in a pile. It's the Columbine. You can see on the front, you can tell it's old. I opened it up and it's a menu, and it's for the Union Pacific Railroad. So it says, "A cheerful good morning from the Union Pacific." A lot of times these menus do have dates on them because the menu would change. I can't find a printed date. They did print which dining car it was and who the steward was. But the person who was on the train wrote July 15th, 1935. It says between North Platte, Nebraska and somethingburg, Colorado. I can't read their handwriting. But anyway, so it gives us a date, 1935. This was the breakfast menu on the Union Pacific that this person took. So it has a nice little poem on the back about the Columbine flower. Anyway, so I did find comps. Some that are in really, really good condition had sold for 40, some for 30. This one, the condition, you know, it's got fading and everything. Condition's not super great. Let's shoot for maybe 20 on this one. It's got some writing on it. There's another Columbine one that has a different cover picture, and that one can sell for like over $100. But if I see Union Pacific menus, railroad type menus, railroad collectibles, and they're a good price, I generally will either look them up or just grab them if they are a good price. Now, I said that there was something else good that I found, and that the ones where I showed you the pictures earlier, I recorded a little video of what I had found on the shelves in that place. Okay, so at one of those sales I told you about that I was at first hesitant to go to, on one of the shelves there was quite a collection of Cliban cat material, and the mugs weren't marked, but I went and asked. I picked out a couple and I went and asked, and they said $2 a piece. So I went back and I cherry picked the ones that were in good shape. I found most of them are Kilcraft, made in the USA. Now, I've sold kind of the basic Cliban cat cartoon mugs before, but I noticed that there was a few here that I hadn't ever seen before. So, and there was also one that was new in its box, with its original box. So anyway, let me tell you about what I found out for comps on a few of these, okay? As you can see, there's a couple shot glasses and some coasters as well. So I was super, super excited to find these. So isn't that fun? Like, okay, so I say Clyban. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce his name. He was a cartoonist, B. Clyban. He had, I forgot what his name was. I just read it, but he went by like a nickname Hap, and then he eventually like changed his name officially to B. Clyban, B initial, right? And that's how his artwork is signed. So he was a cartoonist, and he was actually a cartoonist, I never knew this, for Playboy. And the article I read said that Gary Larson, the Far Side cartoonist, said he was one of his inspirations. So that was kind of interesting. So in 1975, someone had talked him into all his cartoons about cats. They convinced him to compile it into a book called Cat. And so over the years, these cat cartoons are just, they have such a following. People collect. So I've sold Clyban cat coffee mugs, and I've sold, I was just looking at some of the things we sold, rubber stamps for crafting. You know, there's all sorts of, I think I sold an apron one time. You know, there's towels, there's all sorts of collectible things that people, they like the Clyban cat, right? So I kind of picked through most mugs. Like I looked back at the mugs we had sold in the past, and we got a lot of times $25 to $30 per mug. So I was okay with paying $2 per mug, even on some of those just kind of like heart ones or kind of plain ones. I can probably get at least 15 to 20, 18 to 25, kind of on those basic ones. And then there was a few just kind of fun ones, like the cat is dressed up like a bird. He's up in the tree. This one I think in the past has sold, I was looking on Terra Peak, it sold for like $25, $30. Then this one I just looked recently. I just kind of grabbed this one to look it up just now. Good old cat. He's a cowboy. You know, I think that'll end up being just kind of a basic, you know, I'll shoot for $20, $25 on that one. And then this one in the past has sold for $60. And he's in a plane, like a World War II plane. And as you can see, it says Messerschmitt, right? So instead of Messerschmitt, he's in a Messerschmitt. Anyway, just kind of fun little mug. So I was just like super excited about that. I still think my mid-century, because of my deep-seated love for mid-century, I still think those will probably be more profitable, but they're just like the way I found them, and actually finding that many pieces of that dinnerware pattern probably is more my like favorite find of the week. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me as I talk about vintage. As you can tell, I love it. And I will share more of my vintage finds in the future. Leave me a comment below of your favorite. You can tell me about your favorite thing I showed you today. If you found any of these before, if any of this was new information for you. Do you like to sell vintage? Do you just kind of stick with clothing? Things like that. Just let me know how it's going. Or even share your best vintage sale that you've ever had. So I will talk to you guys sometime soon, and we will be around.